everybody. Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. As always, I'm your humble host, Ted Glover. With me are my partners in crime, Drew Bunning to my, will this be to my right? Yeah, that'd be to my right. There we go. Below us only in screen only is the founder and current lead blogger over at the SB Nation Vikings website, the Daily Norseman, dailynorseman.com. The one and only Christopher Gage. Gentlemen, a win is a win is a win. Vikings get another road victory, beating the Tennessee Titans by the score of 23-13.
That's the sound of the day. Yeah.
This team makes me drink, but I've only had one beer today. So, anyways, look, they had a chance to kind of blow this game open. And go up like 33-13, and Jalen Naylor did his, as you said in our chat, Chris, did his best Troy Williamson impersonation by dropping that. I mean, it was a beautiful throw by Sam Darnold, and Naylor, by any stretch of the imagination, should have caught that.
Sam Darnold couldn't have placed that ball any better if he had walked down to the goal line and handed it to him.
Yeah, exactly.
It hit him right. This team just, we talked early in the season about how this team was actually blowing teams out and, actually winning games by like more than one score. They're not doing that now, and they're not doing it against teams they should absolutely be doing it against, which is not great to see. But wins are wins, and we'll take them.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, 8-2 is 8-2. I'll take it. But I mean, when you look at what Detroit's doing, I mean, they blew out Jacksonville 52-6. I think it was today.
Yep.
What was our score against Jacksonville?
12-7.
Whoa! Yeah. Oh, we're not going to go into that though.
Yeah. I mean,
the Lions hung 52 on this Tennessee team too.
Don't tell me the Lions have exponentially a better offense, if that's the right word, than the Vikings. I know where the difference lies. I already know, and I'll let you guys figure it out.
I don't think it's execution, man. Look,
really?
The Vikings.
All of it?
I mean, I part of it is, yeah, at least especially on offense. I mean, the Vikings running game. You look at Aaron Jones. He's. I don't want to say he's cooked, but I don't even think he had 35 yards rushing today.
Aaron Jones, 15 carries, 39 yards.
Okay. Cam Akers, they brought him. He's now running back too. I mean, that could be a coaching decision, but I think Ty Chandler's a better second running back. I don't know. I don't know why they made him RB2 over Ty Chandler. I think he's clearly the better running back when actually running the ball. Akers, when you give him the ball, when the Vikings have 1st and 10, your goal, if not to score, is to get a manageable down and distance in 2nd down. And when you give the ball to Cam Akers and you hand him the ball, I think your chances of losing yardage and getting 2nd and 12 or 2nd and 9 are greater than getting 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 4. That's just my opinion.
The Vikings as a team today had 33 carries for 82 yards. That's not going to get it done most of the time. If they weren't playing Tennessee, that wouldn't have gotten it done. But
would have lost.
Yeah.
First off, when you take the ball offensively, you should beat a score every single time. And if you're going to run to the perimeter, use Chandler. I would like to start the show out by saying welcome everybody to the chat. Everybody that takes time out of their day to be with us for this game. These are difficult games to show up for because I don't want the chat to say Drew's a downer. We're 8-2. Get off it, Drew. But if you don't want me to be honest about what I saw, and I'm usually talking about details of the game, I am glad we won. But I also want to start the show off giving a shout out to my brother Scott. He had a little mishap at home and injured himself. And my brother Scott Bunting, one of the greatest people I've ever known my whole life, my mentor, my hero growing up, taught me how to hit for power, taught me how to hit for average, hit the jumper. And he's a little banged up right now, but if you know my brother in the 80s, he's probably pretty used to getting banged up. You know what I mean? I want to wish him a fast recovery. He's at home. Hopefully he's watching. He's not on Facebook, but his lovely, lovely girlfriend, Jules, if you're watching, you put a comment that you can get on the wheel to maybe win a prize. But definitely thinking of my brother today, and I hope he feels good. Hope he feels better.
But yeah, get well soon, Scott. Speedy recovery to you. Yeah, I let it out, Drew. Man, yeah, let it all out.
Well, I think the Vikings played better offensively, but it's some of the details that I'll bring up somewhere through the show. A lot of people say, well, that doesn't really matter, but it does because little details make up the game. I don't think they would have won this game if they weren't playing Tennessee. I think Tennessee should get my game ball. I have never seen a team with that many cancellations of big plays, I don't think, in my life, besides watching a college football game. But that team gave it away. Their offensive line coach should already be fired, and if he's not, that's probably one of the. We kind of found out why Tennessee's 2-7 today. I mean, I've never seen you take the Ridley thing away. All those first downs they gave us extra possession here, extra possession there. Like I mentioned, the Ridley play. I mean, that is just implosion on the highest level. But I think the Vikings offense did play better. Some of the defensive plays, and I'll mention them in a bunch, and we can talk about them throughout the course of the show, but just a few where I don't know what Shaq Griffin's doing on a double blitz in the gap, letting that guy get behind him on that pass when he has less than a second to throw it. All you do is play center field, wait for the ball, and pick it off. I don't know what the hell he's doing there. I do not know for the life of me. I don't know why the Vikings, I don't necessarily, you don't want to be giving up the big plays, but some of the details, they run their punter out there towards the end of the game. There's 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. The game clock has 40 seconds on it, and it's counting. The game clock is counting down. The play clock is at 40 or 35 seconds. They're both counting. 34, 33. Game clock's running down. You don't snap that ball with 29 seconds left. That's coaching. How can you allow that to happen? You tell your punter, take a delay a game at this point. You're at their fort. I mean, what are you doing giving them an extra 30 seconds? You can't. And people say, Drew, you're being too much of a nitpicker. Those are the details between good coaching and bad coaching. You don't snap that ball. You let the 30 seconds run out. They're just little things like that. And biggest surprise about the Naylor drop was seeing him back in there. That guy would not have played any more of this game on a Bud Grant team. I see him running around. I tell Ruby, that guy wouldn't have been, he benched. Rest of the game, you got to let people learn one way or another. That guy should not have been returned to the game. That was a money play, a money pass, and a hideous drop. He should not have set foot on the field the rest of the game. You are benched, my friend.
I would disagree with you there.
Should have been benched.
I don't know if you remember. This is kind of going way back in 1976, Sammy White's rookie year. They were playing Detroit, and Sammy White was going in for a touchdown. He put the ball above his head, and he fumbled about the 1 yard line, and the ball went through the end zone.
Okay, let's balance out how many big plays Sammy White had and how many Nailers had.
It was his rookie year, and Detroit went down, took the lead, and they brought Sammy White back in, and he scored a touchdown, and the Vikings ended up winning the game. So I'm just saying, I don't know.
I think part of that might have been Jordan Addison. I think toward the end of the game there had some cramping issues he was dealing with. So I mean, the Vikings unfortunately really didn't have anyone else they could throw out there.
You dropped that dagger touchdown, Chris. You lost your privilege to play. I don't even care if you got to put Bradbury out there at wide receiver. You're not going to play anymore. That's the way players learn how not to drop the football. You don't put him in the next drive. Have some balls about you, O'Connell. Bench him.
They went to him on the next play. He didn't catch it. I mean,
Aussie Scolder says, "Hey guys, love from Australia. Aussie, oi, oi, oi.
Got Mike. Ted, where's my dingo? But we are 8-2.
A dingo stole my baby.
So if people want to know, it's tough doing a show like this because I don't want to seem like a negative Ned, but the Vikings they should have ran away with this game, guys, especially as many mistakes Tennessee was making.
I don't know. I don't know about you, but not along with the offensive line coach, but number 68, the offensive tackle who cost Tennessee a touchdown and who also cost Tennessee like a 40 or 50 yard, whatever that long play was called for an illegal. He was called for like 3 or 4 illegal. Aussie Scolder, I've got some Vegemite for y'all. Nah, no thanks.
What the hell is Vegemite sandwich? I want to know is that a vegetable on bread? Because I don't want it.
Yeah.
No.
I would have cut 68 during the game after that second. Yeah, Naylor dropped the TD against the Rams. That could have been the difference in the game. That's
Sammy White didn't.
Yeah, that's true. I I would have cut 68 before he got to the bench after that second illegal formation. I would have just said keep going to the locker room, clean it out, and don't ever come back.
Man, that Titans coach erupted, didn't he, Chris? He was
Hell
mad.
Yeah, he did. I thought he was going to get tossed. I mean, Jesus.
I thought he was going to have a heart attack.
So, anyways, before we get going, or before we continue on, we've got about 170 folks in the chat room right now. Again, like Drew said, thanks for watching. All you have to do, we're going to give away a prize at the end of the show. All you have to do to be eligible to win a prize is comment in our live chat. Ruby's going to spin a digital wheel at the end. If you could come up with something more positive, say something positive about Drew. His jersey, his beard, his hat, his neck chain. Is that a True Live Crew neck chain you got wearing? What is that? Oh, the tugboat Willie. You found it. You found the whistle.
Dug it out of the trash. Ruby threw it away. Okay. So
all right.
That's I don't want to be negative, guys. That's what I was thinking about getting on here. I don't want people to hate because I'm just saying. Why do we have to have games like this? The last 3 weeks, none of them have felt comfortable. This one certainly didn't feel comfortable. And all of a sudden, Levis turns into Johnny frickin' Unitas in the third quarter.
Well, yeah, and I think part of it had to do with Flores just going to the blitz. I mean, Aussie Scolders do international fans get a prize. Sorry, sadly, we can't ship our prizes internationally.
I'll ship you something out of my care package.
We wish we could. Dan Lee, Romo became an official Vikings kicker, Michigan extra point. Welcome. Well done.
Welcome, Romo. Welcome to the family, Romo.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just it felt like the Vikings started off very well. They had a 13-3 win at the halftime. They got that. They didn't get the touchdown. I was kind of hoping they'd get a touchdown, but they got points. When they got the ball to open the second half, I thought, man, if they can go down here and score and just kind of take control of the game, and it was going to be lights out for the Titans. And it's just kind of the second half issues you talked about all season, Drew, and it was really kind of aggravating. They went 3 and out. I think the second drive they got a first down, and then they had to punt, and it was just one of those deals again, Chris, where they just didn't really seem to find a rhythm in the second half until they got that penalty that kept that drive alive. And Adam Archuleta, I don't know if that's the Tennessee Titans preseason crew that calls their games, but man, they were in the tank for the Titans and the penalties that were called against them. I don't know.
Really?
No,
I watched the Viking games on volume 0, so I didn't hear any of it.
Dude.
No,
I don't listen
to bad.
There's no pre-colored guy or not colored, but color and play-by-play guy I have to listen to in this league. They all suck.
I mean, I know we're not getting CBS's number one crew for a game like this, but Jesus, that was not great.
Do you guys have any theories on the second half football and it's a pattern? We used to joke around last year, Ted. Me and Ted used to say, maybe the Vikings go down 14-0. That seems to be when they played their best football. Today, they had 2 lousy drives to start the second half. As soon as the Titans hit that 98-yard touchdown, Ted, the Vikings came out and ran it down their throat. But why does it take that urgency of that moment to have? That's the kind of drive you should have during the game all the time. But they got that 98-yard touchdown. The next drive, the Vikings just totally rammed it down their throat for a touchdown. But they look like a different offense.
Go ahead, Chris. You.
No, I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I know that the Vikings kind of do better when they have their scripted plays, early on in the game or whatnot, and as things roll on, things tend to degrade a little bit. I'm not sure entirely what that is. I don't know if Kevin O'Connell just hasn't adjusted quite as well as he needs to. But, the second half offense is nowhere near on the level of the first half offense. I haven't looked at the target numbers for guys like Justin Jefferson yet in the second half as opposed to what we saw in the first half. But, the second half offense is just not to the level of the first half offense most of the time.
That was a great comment.
What Digital Nate's comment?
It's a great
about
comment.
Urgency. Yeah, if you could put that back up there, Ruby.
Got to have urgency. every drive.
Yeah, urgency fuels desire to play harder. Why can't we be that driven all game? I don't know. I don't know.
I do. It's a problem.
Well,
And
yeah.
we talk about, well, it's not going to matter when it comes to playoff time. You play like this, you're one and done. It's not playoff time, but it's 8-2. We're on the way to the playoffs. Do you want to fix it before that happens, or do you want to just keep doing this every week? It's a problem. Kevin O'Connell has to learn how to kick other teams' asses out of the stadium when he has a better team on paper. I'm going to ruin the show, aren't I?
No, I mean, and next week they get an opportunity against a team that's also not very good.
Who almost beat the Packers today. If the Packers blocked the field goal, or the Packers would have lost.
Yeah, thanks for nothing, Bears. But
give me the last good game the Vikings played.
The last good game the Vikings played?
Full game.
Well,
that's a really good question. Do we got to go back to the Houston
game? Texans game where they won 34-7, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Which
it could
be
what,
week 3? Yeah, week 3.
Yep.
We could be losing these games, so I guess I'll ride that wagon with everybody else and be. I am happy we're 8-2 and we haven't lost to Jacksonville and lost to. I mean, even our predictions on the season, Ted, back in May when us three predicted the schedule, I had him at 6-4 right now. You had him at 6. You had him at 6-4. I had him at 6-4. Ted had him at 7. Chris had him at 7-3. So all of us, I mean, the Vikings are doing better than all three that we thought was going to be at this point. So that's a positive.
Well, I mean, they're 8-2, which is, I mean, and look, they're 8-2, and they came out at 5-2 after losses to both the Lions and the Rams. And look, the Colts, the Jags, and the Titans wins were ugly wins. I'm not going to say they weren't, but Christ Almighty, I'll take them over. I'll take 3 ugly wins over 3 bad losses.
Well,
and T. Kubler asked, was the handoff fumble on Darnold or Jones? That technically was on Sam Darnold.
Yeah, they credited it to Darnold, but I think that was Jones's fault.
But that was a decent pitch. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was like a little bit behind Aaron Jones, but I mean that should have been. There was no reason that Aaron Jones could not have handled that pitch. I mean, it's something he's handled thousands of times in his career, I would imagine. So,
if the Vikings did play more efficient on offense this game, they weren't turning it over in the red zone, and they were making better plays, protecting the football. Jones dropped it later on, but actually got to land on it, save himself a turnover. Yeah. But man, so many times, right when we're on the edge of that dagger, Ted, we can't seem to dagger people, and we're right on the cusp of it. Yeah. Again, defense finished the game out today. They
did. Yeah, they absolutely did.
Yeah, I mean, the defense killed it again.
But, we talked about Sam Darnold not, just kind of in this slump. I thought he broke out of it, 20 of 32, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought he didn't, when nothing was there, he didn't try and force what I thought was a bad throw. And I thought he actually, 2 or 3 different times when he had to get out of the pocket to avoid pressure, he made a couple of really good throws. He had a really nice throw down the sideline to Justin Jefferson for 30 yards. He made a really nice throw. I think it was to Josh Oliver, or maybe it was Johnny Munt. He looked off a couple receivers when he hit Jordan Addison for that 47-yard touchdown. Somebody just put up, we were plus 74 in point differential, whoever that was. Hard to complain about that too much. I mean, look, you're right. We're kind of nitpicking at this point, but then again, I go back to what you see the Detroit Lions doing, man.
Right.
And I think it was Aussie Vike said, where do you see the Vikings going to the playoffs? Are they one and done? I don't know. We talked about these last 3 ugly wins, and somebody also mentioned the schedule getting tougher. They got the Bears on the road, then they come home against Atlanta and Arizona, and I think it's Arizona then Atlanta.
Yep.
They play like this. I like I like how the defense is playing, but how do you see these next 3 games going, Chris?
I mean, they should be able to beat the Bears. I mean, but then again, Soldier Field is where weird stuff happens to this team all the time, so we can't necessarily pencil that one as a win. The Cardinals have been playing a whole lot better than anyone expected them to. They're currently leading the NFC West. If if memory serves me correctly, and that's a game that could wind up getting flexed from everything that I'm hearing. So that could be a primetime game. Then we have the Kirk Cousins return game. The Falcons have been solid this season. I mean, can't overlook them, obviously. And then it's the Bears again on Monday night. I mean, if you can go 2-2 in those games, that'd be great. I mean, they should be able to go better than 2-2 in those games. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But this is going to be a playoff team, and whether they advance might depend on who they see in the first round, and it could be Atlanta and Arizona, two teams they've got coming up here. So yeah, this team's capable of beating anybody, but at this point, they're capable of losing to anyone too. As sad as that sounds.
A couple other comments here. Somebody mentioned it, Ruby, if you could put up about Detroit having the best year in their franchise history. There we go. T. Kubler, Detroit having the absolute best year in the history of their franchise. Hard to compare to that. And we only lost to them by 2 points. And that was at home. Look, I agree. I think this team has the capability to beat Detroit. I think, Drew, I know you're not happy with how the Vikings have been coached the last 4 or 5 weeks. I agree. I think Dan Campbell is going to, if he gets in a tight game, you see it time and again. When he gets in a tight coaching game, he makes stupid decisions. If the Vikings can play with the Lions, and if they get in a close game with them, I think they're fully capable of beating Detroit.
I think they can too. I think they can beat Detroit, but I'm welcoming the Cardinals and the Falcons because apparently we can't beat the cheese stick teams of the league. Let's have some better teams on paper come in here. Maybe we got a chance to win. I want to say a couple things before I forget here. Darnold, the Titans could have had about 6 or 7 sacks today if it wasn't for Darnold shifting in the pocket the way he does that little lateral shift. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily mobility doesn't mean running 40 yards like Michael Vick or some of these guys that are running quarterbacks. Mobility can mean step side out of the pocket and hit Hawkinson for a first down. He did that a lot today. Cousins would have been sacked 7 times in this game. Kirk Cousins would have been sacked 7 times. Kirk Cousins doesn't have that sidestep. Darnold wasn't throwing picks. He made a lot better decision making today, but those certain plays in the pocket when he dodged a guy here and there and kept the ball alive and twirled in the thing and threw it to Addison or whatever, those go overlooked a lot. But shout out to Darnold today. We needed him to step up from the last couple of weeks, and I think he did. We can beat Detroit, but look at the common opponents, and I'm going to tell you the difference. We played Jacksonville and Tennessee. We scored 30 points. Detroit played Jacksonville and Tennessee and scored 104. And I'm going to tell you the difference why. The Lions were beating Tennessee 35-14 at the half. Final score, 52-14. Add that up. 35-14, final score 52-14. They're beating Jacksonville 28-3 or 28-6 at the half. Final point total, 52 again. That's 28-52 and 35-52. My point being, that's the second half of aggression and play that you need. Vikings have players to make plays. Lions may have better couple running backs than we do, a little deeper at running back. We should be able to make plays, though, like that. The Lions have a different outlook. They want to run people out of the stadium. I just want the Vikings to get that mindset, Ted. That's all. I'm not dragging the team down. I don't want them to run up the middle twice and then punt in the third quarter because we have a 10-point lead. Why is Detroit putting up these 50s on people?
They can run the ball. They're running. Look, they have the best running back tandem in the league, and the Vikings cannot run the ball. They averaged 2.5 yards per carry today. The Vikings have got to be able to run the ball, and they cannot. They just can't.
So the Lions are running up 50 burgers on these teams because they can run it solely?
No, because
they're throwing deep 62-yard bombs when they're up by 40.
The reason they can is because they get 5 or 6 yards or 7 yards on first down. And now when you're 2nd and 3 versus 2nd and 9, you can do whatever the hell you want on second down. And the Vikings are kind of, I don't want to say forced into being one-dimensional, and now the defense sort of knows what you're going to do, but when you're 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3, you have to play or can't anticipate what you think Detroit's going to do, and versus what you're pretty sure the Vikings are going to do.
I feel like Campbell is a cutthroat head coach. Sure, he makes mistakes. He has built a mentality into his players. We're not going to just sit on the ball and take a 30-point lead. We're going to keep playing hard the whole game. He's instilled that in the Lions. His philosophy on coaching is different than KOC's, Ted. We can argue about this, and I'll agree to disagree. There are two coaches that don't look at scoring the same way. They don't. And I say that. That being said, I think the Vikings can beat them. I think they got a 50-50 shot at beating them. And I think they will beat them when they go to Detroit towards the end of the year. But I think the overall mentality of these teams they're different. One's a finesse team. One wants you to guillotine. They want to get you out of the game in the third quarter.
All right, Chris, I want to get your take on this. Earlier in the show, somebody said the way the Vikings were winning felt like kind of the luck. I can't remember exactly the quote. Felt like the luck of 2022, just kind of how the Vikings just seemed to win sort of on a fluke every single week when they went 13-4. And then just a little bit ago, TD Ski, or if I'm pronouncing that right, said it feels like the team is better and the winning way is and the winning is way more sustainable than 2 years ago. That's growth to me. It's not perfect, but what else can we ask for? What do you think? Is this the way they're winning kind of 2022 fluky, or more sustainable, like foundational type winning that you can win over the long haul?
I don't think this is fluky like 2022 was, because the big stat that came out of that 2022 season is in one-score games, the Vikings were 11-0. And and we saw that the next year their ability to win one-score games dropped off quite a bit. So 2022 was fluky, yes. And if you remember the games they lost that year, they went out and got absolutely hammered in the games they lost that year. I mean, we did the live watch party, that game they had against Dallas. They lost 40-3.
Yeah,
this team is not losing 40-3 to anybody. I mean, you said they lost to Detroit by 2 points on a last-second field goal. They lost to the Rams. They had to fly out to the West Coast on a short week, and they got hosed at the end on the Darnold face mask call. Not that was the call that lost the game for them, but they had that to deal with. But this is not fluky wins the way 2022 was. I mean, they're going out, they're doing what they need to do when they need to do it. Sure, they're not blowing teams out the way we want them to, especially teams like Tennessee and Jacksonville that they should be blowing out. But this is not a fluke sort of thing like 2022 was, I don't think. No, this is something that this team can build around next season. I think that the goal, like we've said a lot of times on this show, I think the arrow's always been kind of pointing toward 2025. The fact that they're doing well this year is nice, but it's not, this is something that they build on for when Sam Darnold leaves next year. JJ McCarthy takes over quarterback. They've got a ton of cap space, and they're going to have a bunch of guys in here who are used to winning and being a part of this system. So no, I don't think this is fluky like 2022 was. I think this is more something you can build on.
Drew, what do you think?
Absolutely agree with Chris. This isn't the 2022 team. I feel way more confident in this team. I mean, that team, didn't they go 13-4 with crappy Donatel running the defense?
They did. Yes,
I mean,
sure did.
That was a fluke all the way around that year. It was all fluky. The Vikings happened to get wins, but I think all three of us and a bunch of Viking fans knew that we weren't who we were. And when we lost that playoff game to the Giants, we weren't surprised because we had been waiting. Vikings I believe more in this team than I did in that team. This team has better players, but they have they have a better culture. They're used to winning. If this team gets a home wild card game, they're going to win. And I feel that way, that this isn't anything like the 2022 team, even though we're barely winning these games.
Now, Toon says you may need to get a mop and some paper towels because I'm going to read a comment here that I feel is going to have Drew's head explode. Jay Johnson says, I guess this is a post-game quote from Kevin O'Connell in his press conference. It says, KOC, I felt like it was a game where we could have had compressed a little more success, a couple chunks on either side of the ball, and put the game away earlier.
Son of a bitch. We said the same shit thing.
You okay, buddy? You doing okay? You all right?
As Charles Bronson would say, I'm fine. Every week. We need to fix this. Okay, I'm done. Good. That's
all right.
You know,
Okay.
we gotta go back and look at the tape and fix a few things, and
he didn't look happy when Jones fumbled that pitch, though. He had to look like somebody pissed on his Cheerios. O'Connell on the side. I was kind of happy to see that because he needs to have that look now and then. Yeah. He needs to be a little bit more grittier, but he's finding a way to win. What does that make him? 28-16 or something? 34.
I'll look up his record here, but
13-4 and 7-10. 13-4. 13 plus 7 is 20. Plus 8 is 28.
28-15 or something, right?
Yeah,
pretty good.
28 and 17, 28 and 19, I guess. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, Flores is probably going to want to be a head coach. He's sick of bailing this team out. He wants to see. I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator. A couple burps today on that long touchdown and the Ridley touchdown, and explain to me what Shaq Griffin was doing. But overall, the Vikings defense is solid. It's solid. We got a good enough defense to take us pretty. I said it last week, Ted. We just got to start clicking on offense, and we will take out the Lions. We're good enough to score 50 points.
Yeah, I think so. I just, it's just a play here and a play there, and the running game. I don't know.
Yeah, what is going on with that running game?
It's been terrible. I think.
Yeah,
I would argue since somebody said the Vikings left their mojo in London. Was it T. Kubler? I can't remember who it was.
Real quick, we got Vikings fans.
The Vikings running game hasn't been the same since before the bye, basically.
What was our longest run today, guys? What was the longest Vikings rushing?
Let's have a look here. Here's the damn it, my stat thing logged out.
12 yards. Cam Akers had a 12-yard run. And he had 10 carries for 25 yards. So Aaron Jones averaged 2.6 yards a run, Akers 2.5, Sam Darnold 2.3. I'm telling you, Ty Chandler's the best runner on this team right now.
Did Ty Chandler see some photos he wasn't supposed to see? Why isn't he getting any touches? Bad penalty there at the end, but everybody, I'm not going to hold him. I don't understand why. Maybe people in the chat can tell us why Chandler doesn't get more touches during the game. If you're going to run the perimeter, I'm much happier running Chandler than Akers, Ted. Akers isn't going to turn the corner like Ty Chandler can, but I don't know why. I keep watching the game. Oh, wait, he gets to catch the kickoff and take the knee. He gets to do that.
He actually had a good he had a
nice return there.
Brad Moran asked Ted, is that a running back problem or an O-line problem? I want all of us to answer this. I think it's an interior O-line problem. Drew, you mentioned Ty Chandler on the edge or off tackle. I think that's where he makes his money on the edge. I agree with you there. I think he has much better vision between the tackles than Cam Akers does. Cam Akers, I just think is just not good between the tackles, but that's just me. But yeah, the Vikings interior offensive line has been a problem since the Vikings traded Ed White back in 1978. The Vikings this offseason, they have got to invest in the interior offensive line. They need a center and two guards. Their tackles are set. Assuming Christian Darrisaw comes back healthy, by all accounts he will. Brian O'Neill is great. They've got Cam Robinson in the short term to replace Darrisaw. He's fine, but they have got to invest in the interior offensive line. That's the only weakness on offense I see right now, and that is a root cause, I think, of a lot of their running issues right now, Chris.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, we've always known that Bradbury's had his issues because he's a smaller type center and he gets shoved around. But I mean, part of it today is, that defensive interior for the Titans is no joke. I mean, between Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat, they're one of the better interior defensive lines. But, like Nicholas Roussan just pointed out, they benched Ed Ingram today, brought Dalton Risner in to play right guard. I didn't notice any difference. I mean,
No, not really.
no, I didn't think there was any. We talked about Blake Brandel early in the year. I mean, he's not committing dumb penalties anymore, but I think he's kind of dropped off a little bit from where he was early in the season. But yeah, the interior of this offensive line is going to continue to be an issue until they really, really look into fixing it somehow. And I know Ingram was a second round pick. I know Bradbury was a first round pick, but those guys aren't it anymore. So we'll have to see what they do about it.
I like this comment by TD Ski. Need competition for Bradbury, a good center lifts everybody else. And Garrett Bradbury's case, a bad center gets lifted by everybody he goes up against, which is kind of what happens. Bradbury gets lifted on his butt and sent back into the pocket every week.
Running the football, you mentioned Ed White. Running the football is a mindset. It is a mindset. That's what it's all about. There's a huge mind game going on in the trenches. Your offensive line against defensive line. Like Ed White used to say, he used to say, you look kind of tired over there. We're going to run Brent McClanahan on the right. Brent McClanahan, who's not our best running back, and he's going to get 14. They run the play, McClanahan gets 20. They come back to the line. Ed White goes, now you're looking even more tired across from there, man. What are you ready? Now we're going to run Foreman. Can you stop it? It's a mindset. It's a mind game. The offensive line wants to destroy the defensive line. The last time I seen the Vikings running it when I talk mindset was that first 2 drives of that Rams game. They ran the ball with a mindset of we're going to run and run and run and you can't stop us. And that was the last time I seen it.
Even when they had not even the Purple People Eaters era, when they had it was either Jeff Christie or Matt Burke. They had Randall McDaniel. They had Dave Dixon. They had Todd Stussy. And I can't remember who the left tackle. Brian McKinney.
Right.
And Paul Allen famously called them the Minnesota Moving Company. They would impose their will. And they had it might have even been before. It was, Robert Smith, Leroy Horde. It was a good running back tandem. And by the fourth quarter, I mean, they would probably come up, Randall McDaniel would come up to the line and look across the line and said, Robert Smith is coming right at you, and he's going to get 8 yards, and there's not a thing you can do about it. But 8 yards later, there's Robert Smith. I mean, and it's you're absolutely right, Chris. And Chris, I just think it's a mentality, and I don't know that the Vikings are talented enough. Well, they can't. I mean, when you absolutely need a drive to put opponents away, the Vikings have not been able to do it for a month, even against inferior teams like Jacksonville or Tennessee today.
No, they absolutely haven't. I mean, they had. I mean, obviously, you get plays like the awful Naylor drop that could have been a put the game away drive. That you can't put that on the offensive line. You can't put that on anyone but Jalen Naylor. But like you said, after that one, they had several opportunities to go down and put it away, and they didn't do it against Jacksonville. They didn't do it against Tennessee, and like we said, this team's capable of beating anybody, but if they don't get it together, they're capable of losing to just about anyone at this point. So
what was that?
I don't know what they're going to do to change it, but
what was that game that Naylor dropped that? He would have walked in for a touchdown.
That was the Rams game.
Yeah, that was a Rams game.
I bet
they had to settle for a field goal.
I bet if you benched him that game, he wouldn't have dropped it today. Is that kind of a weird thought?
He might have, though. You never know.
Catch the ball. Catch the ball, Ted. Catch the ball.
But even if Naylor makes that catch today,
and
it's 30-13, there was still 12 or 13 minutes left in the game, I believe. I mean, it was very early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And let's say, let's just say, hypothetically, Tennessee gets a fluky play and makes it a 10-point, another 10-point game. The Vikings still have to be able to get a dagger drive to close that game out. And Drew, they still couldn't do it. They still can't do it.
You're right. There shouldn't be that much inconsistently. They've had drives where they're just unstoppable. But maybe that happens to every team. But I don't know. It just seems like they should have a lot more consistency with stepping on people's throat than they do. I mean, that drive they had after that 98-yard Levis touchdown, that was an amazing drive. They just kicked the shit out of them going down the field.
Yeah, they did.
That's the mentality you got to have the whole game.
Jay Johnson asked, and he asked me, but I'll put this out for you guys as well. How many times did we see 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, and incomplete passes? 2nd and 5, you should be able
Right.
to run, you should be able to run the ball
It's a
and
great
get.
point.
If you can't get a first down, you should at least have 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. And now, and we talked about this earlier, this is what the Lions are so good at doing. Now you have 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, and now you have the whole playbook open to you. And speaking of that, how many times did the Vikings run play action today? I off the top of my head, I don't recall one time. I could be wrong, but I don't recall a single play action.
I have to
missed
go
that
back and
too.
look. I don't think it was very many.
Ted is onto a great point right there, because remember how much we used to use that with Cousins.
Yeah.
And I know Cousins is an exceptional play action quarterback, but I know Darnold is at least should be given the opportunity to. Yeah, I thought about play action today too, Ted. I thought about that in the screen pass. Why don't we do any more screen passing?
They had a couple, and I thought there was a disastrous screen pass that was unfolding with Aaron Jones, and he had managed to turn like a 2 or 3 yard loss into a 4 or 5 yard gain. And there was one with Munt that was actually a pretty good screen pass too. But yeah,
it seems like the Vikings, to make a chunk play, have to have Darnold scramble, stumble, regain his feet, throw it against the grain, and have Jefferson and Addison go up and catch it with one hand or something. Remember that play Levis had when he dropped back and had a 19-yard play on 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why can't we have plays like that? It's very simple pass plays, but it seems like we have to struggle to get a lot of plays. Maybe that's O-line or something. That's another reason Detroit's a lot better. Detroit built their O-line.
Yeah.
Then they built their running game, and then they built Mon-Ra St. Brown. They built it the right way. They have a very good offensive line, but it seems lately, not so much the first of the year, it seems like it's a struggle just to get some first downs or something. It's very weird. Very weird.
If the Vikings get behind situationally, and by that I mean 2nd long, 2nd and 8, 2nd or 9, they have a hard time getting a first down. They have got to stay ahead in situational football. And I go back to the running game. The running game has been ineffective since before the bye, and they've got to figure that out. Or
right.
I think it was Aussie Viking that asked earlier, are they going to be one and done? Yeah, they will be. Because when come playoff time, and assuming they make the playoffs, and I think they will, they are going to face really good football teams. They're going to face really good offenses. They're going to have to match score for score, and they're going to fall behind. If they can't, they're going to fall behind early, and then they're going to face really good defenses. And if they can't play complementary football and they can't play with a balanced offense, they're going to be in a lot of trouble pretty early. But that's just
Chris. I know its offensive line has something to do with it. Both of you guys feel that Aaron Jones is maybe running out of gas a little bit? Is he the same guy as he was the first month of the season? Is he the same running back?
No, I don't think he is. I mean, I don't know how much the injury issues have had to do with that. I know he he missed a good chunk of the Jets game with an injury issue, and he had a solid game in the Rams game after the. I think he had a solid game against Detroit too, but these last couple of weeks, he just doesn't look like the same guy. And I don't know how much of that is the offensive line or how much of it is him, but he just hasn't been the same these past few weeks. And if the Vikings want to have this offense back to where it was early in the season, he needs to get going again somehow.
Ted's right about the running game. Absolutely. That's the difference of this team right now, I think.
All right. Digital Nate, one last good comment. We'll end it on an aura of positivity. At least the penalties were very well cleaned up, which I agree with. And Tennessee's one of the most undisciplined football teams I've seen in my life. And he also says, I don't think we'll be a one and done team. We'll be a wild card, and he thinks we'll be the 4th seed. We're right now going neck and neck between us and the Falcons. Wouldn't it be something if we had the Falcons at home in a playoff game with the return of Kirk Cousins? All right, with that, Ruby, are you out there?
Is there anybody out there?
Hello.
Hey there. So,
All
do you enjoy watching football games with Drew? Ruby,
No.
Are they fun?
I do when I have my earplugs in.
You know what? Tootsis is more sarcastic than me. She really is. Hurry back from the bathroom, Drew. You don't want to miss her running it up the middle as we ice the game in the 3rd quarter.
Well, let me flip this then. Drew, do you enjoy watching football games with Tootsis?
I enjoy doing everything in my life with Tinses. I don't even care what it is.
What a great answer.
No, if she was live, you'd be cracking up because she is so dead on with when she watches. She knows this team very well, and she doesn't hold back, and she keeps between the both of us. So I don't think a third party would want to watch it with both of us. To answer that question.
I say, what we should have you guys over to watch a game, but maybe not.
Oh, she's great. She's great. She doesn't talk about it either. She's a very knowledgeable football fan. She is.
All right. Well, let's bring the wheel back up then, Ruby.
All right.
Get it ready.
All right. Ruby, let's spin the wheel of destiny and see who we got for today's winner. And if we could send Aussie fan a prize, we should. Wilfred Hilger. Wilfred, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
You know what? I think that's Big Hig. Is it
Big Hig?
Yeah. He was playing Nobody Cares, but he quit, and he only has 40 points, but he's not going to win that. But he's been a fan of the show for a long time. Is that Big Hig, Ruby? Let's just say it is.
It might be. Well, okay. Well, Wilfred,
it's William Hilger. I mean, it's got to be. Come on.
If it is Big Hig, congratulations. If it's not Big Hig, anyways, Wilfred Hilger, congratulations. You're today's prize winner. Get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com.
Best host in the business, Ted Glover, I tell you.
We'll need your address, and she will send you a link to our Vikings Report prize vault. You can get to pick something out, and she'll send it out to you, or Drew will send it out to you as soon as you choose your prize. So with that, hey, look, the Vikings moved to 8-2. Which is better than they were at this time last year. They got one more road game. They're currently 2-0 on this road trip. They got one more game against division rival Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, which is a twilight zone for the Vikings. Weird things are going to happen. I expect about 6 safeties.
Not this year. This year it's Soldier Field. Let me tell you.
I expect about 6 safeties.
Block punt.
A triple doink field goal.
Block punt.
4 block punts. And Sam Darnold throwing a touchdown pass to himself. It's going to be a wild game. I think the Vikings are going to win, but you'll hear about it all in our preview. Expect that Friday and Saturday. Any last words before we get out of here, Drew?
To quote my famous uncle, my brother might be watching, Chris, what is a win?
A win is a win, even if it's, I believe it's hanging off of the ass of a cow.
That is correct. Again, we say the same. These games are Uncle Paulie games, man. They are. A win is a win, 8-2. I'm telling you, I wasn't joking when I say maybe we should play some teams that on paper we're a little more even against. Maybe we'll do better against those teams, but those teams are coming. I hope I wasn't too much of a downer. I'm just trying to point out my honesty for the game, Ted, but I am super stoked at 8-2. None of us thought this was going to happen, as I read earlier.
Nope.
We'll take it.
We're going to kick the Bears' asses, too.
All right. Chris, any last words for you?
No, I mean, thanks to everyone for coming and hanging out with us this week. Unfortunately, I will not be part of the studio show again this coming week.
Come on, man.
Then again, that might be a good thing. I mean, I guess we're undefeated when I'm not part of the studio show. So why would I risk screwing things up? But no,
because you're twice as smart as us.
Well, I mean,
you guys.
No. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. We get to go to Chicago next week. Hopefully, the Bears will continue not playing any offense as they've done for most of the season. And we can get to 9-2 and just keep this thing rolling along.
So the Bears did not win today? I haven't seen the score.
They had a last second field goal block that would have allowed them to win, and they lost 20-19.
Yeah. And before I let you go, one last great point from T. Kubler, even against bad teams, going on a 3-game win streak on the road in the NFL is a very hard thing to do.
Great comment.
Winning in the NFL is hard. Winning on the road in the NFL is difficult. If you could pull off a 3-game winning streak on the road in the NFL, regardless of who you are playing, that is an achievement. And building off your Uncle Paulie's quote, to quote the great Big Tom Callahan, I could stick my head up the cow's ass, or I could just take the word of a butcher, but a win is a win.
To quote the great Herb Brooks, great hockey coach. What did he say? I forgot the quote now. Oh, wait, not too shabby, boys. Not too shabby.
All right. For Chris, for Drew, for Ruby, for everybody out there who joined us, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Like, subscribe. Appreciate your comments. We really do. We couldn't get to them all, but we truly appreciate it. I did get to see them all. Tune in next week for our studio show, and we'll be live after the Bears game next Sunday. Vikes moved to 8-2 with a 23-13 win. Stay hot on the heels of the Detroit Lions. Skol Vikings. We'll see you next week.
Naylor, catch it.